I would say my fear was that we didn't have a second home. This would have been our first purchase as a second home. Being on the mainland and just didn't understand kind of how easy it would be to have a second property and what the economics and both the dynamics of having a property management firm was. So
yeah, that's true.
That was probably my biggest fear.
So I think one of the surprises for us as we went through the process, and one thing that Tom was really helpful with was thinking through the pros and cons of a house versus a condo. We weren't really predetermined as to which we wanted. We had a budget, and Tom was really helpful in working with us and showing us alternatives within that budget range. And then just thinking through what the pros and cons were. We were a little bit surprised in terms of the ability and the differences between the ability to rent out the different types of properties. And so that was, I think, one of the bigger surprises, and ultimately pushed us in the direction of getting a condo here in the Walilea.
I would say that I don't want to say this is different because I'm sure there are lots of really great real estate agents, but the element that I really appreciated, or the aspect I really appreciated, goes back to the having chosen what I didn't think I was going to choose. I came in with some real assumptions and about the area and about the Walilea, and I appreciated the fact that Tom challenged those assumptions, and he didn't just say take what I wanted and just run with it and be very narrowly focused. He said, are you sure this is really important to you? I don't think you're thinking about this properly, and he was right. Tom and his team, process-wise, it was completely seamless. It's a lengthy process when you finally kind of decide that you want to, both in the bidding and then in the actual closing. The team is so responsive. I felt very bad because I think Tom was on my direct dial at all hours, especially once we got back to the mainland. And, I would have random questions all the time. And he and his colleagues were just incredibly on top of things, made sure we hit all the deadlines. There was, crossed all of the T's and dotted all the I's. It was a super easy process in something that I think generally gives me anxiety.
I'd say his team was extremely proactive, so we would be getting, every couple of days, emails about here's where you are in the process, here's the checklist, here's what you should be expecting in the coming days. We had a lender from the mainland, but they weren't really all that well equipped to lend here in Hawaii, so Tom was really helpful in introducing us to a financing source here who we ultimately used for a mortgage on the property. And really, the process went as smoothly, particularly given that we were 2,500 miles away, went as smoothly as we could possibly have hoped for.
I would recommend Tom without hesitation. He was so helpful to us. He found us the perfect property. He gave us great advice. And honestly, I just really like him.
Agreed. I think he's incredibly knowledgeable about this area, which was very reassuring, and really worked hard to understand our needs and priorities, and was just a pleasure to work with.